to See the Invisible Stuff. That's the name of the YouTube channel, spelled just like that. See the Invisible Stuff. If you like a video, and subscribe. In this video, I'm going to talk about Christmas. I'll start off by saying that Christmas is Jesus blended with pagan practices and traditions. Proof of that is, if you take away some of those pagan practices and traditions like Santa Claus, Christmas trees, elves, mistletoes, and so forth, if you take all that stuff away that's associated with Christmas, you don't have Christmas no more. You have Jesus standing on his own too, like you have the other 364 days out of the year. It's once you blend Jesus with these pagan practices and tradition, you get this holiday called Christmas. Santa Claus. Who is Santa Claus really, right? Because as Christians, we know there are spiritual, you can call spiritual things to take place when you do things in the natural. When you sing, for example, when you pray, when you do certain actions, it can have spiritual effects. So it's important to know who Santa Claus is. You may have heard of Yuletide. Sometimes people refer to Christmas as Yuletide, or the Yuletide spirit. In the song Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, they talk about making the Yuletide gay. The Yuletide is a festival honoring the sun as a god, making the sun a whole nother god. You may have heard of Father Christmas, Santa Claus, right? But you have the Yule Father, who is Odin. Yuletide, 12 days of Yule. Christmastide, 12 days of Christmas. Father Christmas, Santa Claus. Yule Father, Odin. Odin, long-bearded, visit kids. People leave stuff out for him. Santa Claus, long-bearded, visit kids, leave stuff out for him. Santa Claus is another believed origin of Santa Claus. Santa Claus is more of a Catholic tradition. Santa Claus is supposed to be Saint Nick, the patron saint of kids. See, in the Catholic tradition, it's believed that you can pray to the dead saints and they can act on your behalf. Whether it's Santa Claus, whether it's Odin. The origins of all of these guys have a whole bunch in common. Like I said, all of them long-bearded. All of them have dealings with kids. Some of them have big red books that know all the kids. They come through chimneys, the whole thing, right? So whether Santa Claus is Santa Claus, a dead being, or Odin, a false god, it's dangerous to have kids singing about, leaving stuff out for, and making preparations for the arrival of Santa Claus, knowing the origins of what he is, and knowing that doing things in the natural can cause spiritual happiness to take place. Kids are told every year that Santa Claus knows all about them. He knows when you've been naughty, he knows when you've been good. Santa Claus is coming to town. They sing songs about him. They sing songs about his arrival, make preparations for him, leave stuff out for him. But who are they really making preparations, singing to, and leaving stuff out for every year? The dead saint or the false god? See, that's spiritually very dangerous. And the kids don't know no better. Some of them believe that Santa Claus is real. Even if they don't believe Santa Claus is real, doing these things in the natural for Santa Claus, it still can be spiritually dangerous. Let's talk about the Christmas tree. Back in the day, pagans believed that the evergreen tree had special powers because it would stay reserved no matter the season. They would sing songs about the tree. They would cut the tree down and bring it in their home. The holly bush, they would take, which is the mistletoe, they would snip pieces of that branch off and carry it around because they felt like it was a form of good luck. Fast forward to today. Christmas Tree, Oh Christmas Tree, one of the most popular Christmas songs, gets sung every year. It's a praise song about the tree. Just like they used to sing a praise song to the tree, or sing the praises of the tree back in the day. They used to cut the tree down, bring it in their house, cut the tree down, bring it in your house today. Mistletoe back then, mistletoe today. See, the thing is, none of this stuff don't have nothing to do with Christianity, being saved, don't have nothing to do with Jesus. All of this stuff is borrowed practices and traditions from other people that got blended with Jesus. It has absolutely no place in Christianity, and it's spiritually dangerous to keep these traditions going, even with good intentions. Because I know some people say, well, their intentions isn't to invite some entity, some dead being, or some false god of a sun festival. That's not their intentions. Some people say, well, their intentions isn't to worship a tree. Even if that be the case, the very fact that you're keeping these traditions going, you're helping to keep these traditions going. And by keeping these traditions going, there can be spiritual consequences for doing these things in the natural. See, that's the whole thing. Intent is one thing. Another thing I hear about intent is that it's a good way that you can win people over to Christ at Christmas time, when Christmas time comes, that time of year. And winning people over to Christ is a good thing. But we can't do it by any means necessary. It still has to be done within the framework of God's word. Because another thing I hear about the Christmas tree is that, well, it's a triangle. So it's symbolic of the Trinity. But we're not supposed to be making things that images that's symbolic of God. Because in Deuteronomy chapter 4, it says that when God came to the people, he didn't come into a similitude because he didn't want people to see something, make an image out of it, and be driven to worship that image. So even if that's the reason for putting up a tree, it's still not legit. The fact that the tree it don't have nothing to do with Jesus. Nothing. It really does not. Santa Claus don't. Elves are magical beings that have love-hate relationships with human beings. Mistletoes and all that. All of that stuff don't have nothing to do with Jesus. It's just tradition that's been going on it started hundreds of years ago. And it's still showing up in this holiday called Christmas today. These traditions are still being practiced. Your intent when doing them is another issue. The fact of the matter is, these things are still being carried on, and it's dangerous. And that's why it needs to stop. Not only do we need to stop, it shouldn't have ever been here in the first place. And you don't want to be one of those people who have to wait to start identifying the consequences of doing it in order to stop. The very fact that, okay, it shouldn't be here in the first place, it's spiritually dangerous, doing things in the natural got spiritual consequences, this is pagan practices and traditions, bang. That's supposed to be the cutoff right there. And if you are somebody who is looked at as a Christian, and other people see you doing it, they can feel more emboldened to do these practices and traditions. They can feel like, it is okay because I see such and such doing it, and you can cause them to stumble. And it does talk about that in 1 Corinthians chapter 8. And another thing, if you are somebody who is learned, who knows better, who convinced, like, you know what, this is pagan practices, origins, and everything like that, you want to make sure that you cut it off because you don't want to fall into possible willful disobedience. To know better, know the origin, know where it come from, say, okay, I am convinced, yeah, I know, and still do it anyway. So you may be entering willful disobedience, so you want to be extra careful about that. Now, this is not something that you may be able to go to your pastor about, go to your church about, go to your church members about, your family. You know, a lot of people are already, I used to practice it, you know, because if we be real about it, all of us was just born into it, came up on it, was going along with the flow, and then just kept going. A lot of us didn't really think twice about it. Once I found out about it, and once you find out about it and know about it, now you know, and now you can make that decision as to, okay, you know what, I am going to let this go, now that I know about it. Because a lot of us didn't really have no choice. We was already born into it. But once we know better, we have to do better. Especially if people are going to look at us and start feeling more validated to celebrate it because we doing it. Because they come to your house and you got a tree. Because they go to this church and that church has a tree. You see, it's not about what a church say, a church do, or what a pastor say, or a pastor do. Unless that church and that pastor, or that family, or that friend is lining up with the word say. If they start doing stuff that the word wouldn't agree with, then you got to always go with what the word say. You know, with kids or whatever. It's for the kids' benefit to not do this stuff. It's for everybody's benefit to not do this stuff. It should have never been here. It needs to go. And don't be afraid to take your stands and be the one who respectfully let your family know, your kids know, your pastor know, your church know, I can't continue going on with this. I know the origins of this. I know doing things in the natural can have spiritual effects. So I have to take a step back. I feel this way. I know better, and I'm not going to continue to. I'm not going to know better and continue to do it and be held accountable myself. I got to do my part to do what I know is the right thing to do, and you have every right to do that.